Welcome back, everybody, to the East Side Sauce, episode 8 now, coming up on that episode 10 surprise. As always, I'm your host, Jack Woods.
And I'm JB Houston, bringing you guys some more quarantine content.
Yeah, we have a lot to go into. I mean, you said quarantine content, but it was almost like this past week, quarantine wasn't even a thing.
Yeah,
Uh,
it's kind of a lot of stuff going on in the world, but let's focus on the positive. The reason this episode was delayed was Jack drove down to Florida to witness the launch. So how was that? How was that
14
whole
hour,
experience?
14-hour drive. Uh, I mean, personally, it was amazing, not just because of like what it signified, sending astronauts to the space station for the first time in
Right.
9 years from U.S. soil, but like I highly recommend anyone who has the chance to go see it, to see a launch.
Yeah, I
It
would
was
have
just a
loved to have gone
surreal
down there.
moment. Yeah, you have to go. The most standout feature was, I mean, I've seen almost all the launches on TV, on like the live streams and all the photos and videos. It's nothing like that. Um, the one thing I'll never forget is and one thing they just can't show on TV and photos don't do justice is the brightness of the exhaust.
Yeah, I'd
It's
always.
brighter. It's brighter than the sun.
How far out were you guys for like away from
We
the
were
launch?
about we were on a bridge. We were about 13 miles, but it was just straight water across, so we could like
Oh,
see the
gotcha.
pad and everything. But like once that thing took off, first off, it's silent because you're so far away. The sound doesn't reach you until the
Till
rocket's
later.
already out of sight.
Right.
Like if you ever watch the Blue Angels fly over, but dude, just how bright it was. I mean, even photos I took, it doesn't do justice of just how orange and yellow this thing was. It looked like there was another sun in the sky. Um,
Yeah, Jack
yeah,
did a great
it was
job
just
taking some photos. We'll throw them in now.
yeah. Um, oh, it was just amazing. I recommend anyone going down. And then we didn't see the landing because that was a barge landing that was
Yeah.
50 miles offshore that you can't see. But someone that I was down there with, some family that we met up with, they live super close, so they've seen almost every single launch. And they told me that when they saw the Falcon Heavy launch, when they had the two boosters
Yeah.
land
Simultaneously.
simultaneously, what they said was once the rocket launched, 30 seconds later, everyone just left. But they
That's messed up,
stayed.
man.
Then, yeah, but once the rockets came back down to land, there were two more sonic booms right as they came down.
Yeah, they come
And
down
like,
pretty fast.
mhm. um, yeah, so it's just there's a boom when it goes up, and then as the boosters come down, there's another two, and they're like in sync. They
That
said
was
that
still
was
amazing.
amazing.
The fact that
Yeah,
they can land a rocket is still crazy to me. Like that's just
yeah.
can anybody else in the world do that or is it's only SpaceX,
No, it's
right?
only them. Yeah, they're the only company to so far reuse rockets.
That's awesome.
It's ama- it's amazing because uh, 5 years ago, this wasn't a technology that no one did. Uh, the first landing was in like 2016. So in 4 years, the company's been able to not just land but reuse rockets several times over,
Yeah,
which I just
reusable
think is
rockets
amazing.
just doesn't it's an oxymoron. Like jumbo shrimp, it just doesn't make sense. Still hasn't
Yeah,
registered.
like it also helps to just push the company way ahead of the competition. Like we talked in, I think 2 episodes back with
Boeing and SpaceX.
SpaceX's yeah SpaceX and NASA with the SLS versus the Starship. Just how the price difference will be so much. How SpaceX is just so far ahead because they don't have to spend money making a booster every time they launch.
Right. I don't know. I understand why NASA can't really scrap the SLS. They already started it and already put a bunch of
Yeah,
money into it, but I don't know. Honestly, I think it would just make more sense to focus on
yeah,
private contractors, Blue Origin, SpaceX, Boeing.
yeah. Another thing, I'm pretty sure SpaceX they had another launch today. So 2 days after,
They're already back
They
at
had
it.
another one. Yeah, they had their Starlink satellite
Yeah,
launch,
yeah.
which you never hear of. Like shuttle launches happen maybe once a year. Um,
Have you seen
yeah,
the pictures
I
of?
just think
Go ahead.
I was just saying I think it's amazing that we live in a time when you can see the same company launch 20 plus rockets in a year when larger, more heavily funded corporations and government agencies only do half the launches.
I still think it's crazy that private companies are launching stuff into space. And there's something
Yeah.
mesmerizing about watching the videos of those rockets landing because they come in screaming, dude, and then they slow down and they just balance out. I don't know. It's something about that.
It's awesome.
Have you seen the photos of the inside of the Dragon module? Like they look pretty nice.
Yeah, I saw a comparison. Uh, there was a comparison where the guy got to go inside both of the Boeing Starliner and the SpaceX Dragon capsule, and the SpaceX just looks so more modern.
It looks like a
Like
Tesla.
yeah, from the like carbon fiber seats, which are made and formed for each person that sits in them,
Mm-hmm.
to the touch screens, and then you look in Boeing's, and it looks like
Looks like
the
like a
Apollo capsule.
yeah, exactly. It doesn't look like they've changed anything. And obviously Boeing has done great work, but they're just outclassed, I think, by SpaceX.
Yeah, for sure. Um, yeah, it just shows how the company's so far ahead, not just in technologies and what they're able to do, but like just capturing public attention.
Right. What's your realistic guess for when we put a human on Mars?
I think hopefully in the 2030s. I think. Um, I think that right now, or it could be sooner. Um, I hope it's sooner. I hope it's in like the
Definitely.
2025s and later on. I think that's the most prosperous guess. But I feel like the problem is that no as of now, no company has a rocket that can get to Mars. And based on how long it took SpaceX to be able to have NASA trust them to put astronauts into space, they've been working on this for 5, 10 years. The Dragon mission. I think that NASA is going to be hesitant to put people all the way to Mars, but I definitely see us going back to the moon within the next 5 years. That's
I
my
say
guess.
unmanned spacecraft to Mars by 2025, people on Mars year of 2030. I think that's it's like a good balance of it's pretty optimistic to put people on a different planet in 10 years, but I with the growth that we've seen in SpaceX, how long has SpaceX been doing launches? It can't have been no more than a decade, is
Uh,
it?
they were founded in 2022, and I think they did their first launch in 2027.
You mean what? You mean
They were founded
2012?
in they were founded in '02.
Yeah, you said 2022. I was a little confused for a second.
Oh, they were founded in '02, and they did their first successful launch in '07, I
Yeah,
believe.
so 20 years that they've been around, 13 that they were doing actual launches. I don't think it would be wildly optimistic to say that we unmanned spacecraft to Mars in 5 years. I think
Yeah,
that's
I
doable.
agree with that. I think especially with public support,
Yeah,
because I
definitely.
feel if you look back, like the main driver um, in the space race was like
It was
public
us versus
support.
yeah, it
Just
was
like
us versus Russia. It gave us a
that was the competition that drove the innovation. I
mhm.
think that something like we need something like that again to help boost public opinion
Well,
to want to be spending money to go towards space. Yeah.
SpaceX is doing a great job of that, though. It's a spectacle to watch their launches. They're all live streamed. Like I watched the launch on my kayak paddling around. It's a it's a spectacle. And then Elon Musk on Twitter is crazy
Yeah.
but hilarious. It all
Yeah. And
of
I think that gone.
it's just it's more entertaining to watch SpaceX operate than NASA, even outside of the just the rapid innovation and stuff that they're accomplishing.
Yeah, I think that if you're gonna watch um live stream, they do it the best.
Yeah, definitely.
From their announcers that they have and people commentating on it, and just like the visuals,
Hmm.
all the way up to like all the different camera angles that you have, all the way down to the final landing. Like it's an entire experience to watch it from start to finish that no other company really has.
Yeah, and I mean, some people would say that it's unnecessary. All the showmanship is unnecessary, but I think that's why they've been so successful because they've they've gotten public support, like you were saying. That's a big driving factor.
Yeah, I completely agree with that.
Anything else with space that you want to discuss?
No, not really. I will say one thing though that was kind of a bummer. Um, so as you know, the first launch was scheduled for Wednesday,
Right.
and then they scrubbed. And I don't know if you can back this up, but it was almost as if, I mean, we'll get into later things of what happened, but it almost feels like all the other things that started happening over the weekend and all that kind of. I mean, I remember turning on the news like Tuesday, Wednesday, and it was the top stories were all on the launch, and then it almost seemed like press just like on Saturday there was like barely any people were talking about it, and I feel like um just what's the word? It's like almost like public opinion of it almost forgot or like didn't see the significance of what was happening.
Right. Um, yeah, and we're gonna get into the events that took away media time here in a second. Um,
Oh,
yep. So overall, SpaceX doing great things, innovating.
yeah, definitely see a launch if you guys can. It's definitely an experience.
I don't think you understand how jealous I am, bro. All right. So obviously, the major topic in the news right now is the murder of George Floyd and the riots that came after it. And obviously, George Floyd did not deserve to die. The police officers' actions were um, com- completely unacceptable, and the other officers around him carry similar blame as well. But I think that it's not a great thing what is occurring now. What are your thoughts on this?
Um, I've been thinking about it for a while, and I like my opinion's been changing a little bit as I've been doing more research and getting more information. But the way I've seen it is that there's been four main distinctive parts. There's been the peaceful protests, and then the opposite side of that have been the riots. And then on the police side, there's been the police that are doing their job and trying to be as respectful to the protest as possible. But then obviously there's the worst side of the police, which are taking
They're overreacting to
uh,
peaceful protests.
they're taking extreme action against the protests. I feel like it's a great way to uh, have a voice and get your message across. However, I feel that the second that bricks start being thrown through windows and looting and all that, I think that is using the current circumstances for your own advantage.
Yeah, I can understand why the rioters are angry. It's obviously justified. Like I said, the murder was unacceptable, but I I don't think that associating your movement, the Black Lives Matter movement, with the riots that happened in Baltimore and the ones that are occurring now, I don't think that just causes people to look negatively on your movement, and I don't think that's a
I
great way to get the point
completely,
across.
yeah. I don't know if any of the listeners will remember. It was back in 2015. A very similar, uh, almost too similar.
Yeah,
Uh,
Freddie Gray was he killed in a cop car or was he paralyzed? I think he was killed, wasn't he?
he was killed. Yeah, and it's this. I think it was the same phrase. I can't breathe phrase, which
Yeah.
sparked outrage. remember that was less of a peaceful showing, and there were way more riots, especially in Baltimore area.
Hmm.
I remember watching the news. It was like a lot of the city was up in flames. Um, I feel 5 years later, not really. I mean, obviously, since this is all happening again, not enough was done. So I feel like the riots aren't going to really change much if you're doing it through violence.
Yeah, I put something on my Twitter page yesterday, I think it was, along the same lines. A lot of people didn't like that very much, but that's okay. Obviously, like we said a billion times, we do not support police brutality. Police officers need to be held to a higher standard than the rest of us. But I
Yeah,
think that some people need to remember the fact that police off police officers are humans too, and they put on their uniform the same way that you put on your clothes to go work a normal job or whatever. And I'm sure
yeah,
a lot of them are scared too, and the riots are just they're counterproductive to everything.
yeah. And I see people like saying like we don't need them and all that, but I think that people are just caught in the moment. Like their their job is to enforce laws which are carried out by the government,
Just to serve and
and
protect. That's the mission
yeah, sort of
statement of.
protect that's their whole thing. And I feel like I mean I think we'll get to the like some of the things that have been said in a little bit, but I feel like generalizing them all based off of like a few actions is not the right thing to do. I think it's not right to generalize um, entire populations or entire workforces of people just because um, a part of them acted in ways that weren't called for.
it's it's almost ironic that a group that's supposed to be protesting for equality among races is making extremely harsh generalizations. I can't the number of people that have said all cops are bad or whatever, the ACAB stuff. That's just it's just not true at all. Not all cops are bad. And I don't think that all of anybody is anything. You can't make generalizations about race, jobs, gender. Like it's just there's going to be different people in every no matter what demographic you pick there's going to be differences and generalizations they're certainly not going to help.
I like your comments that you said about the generalization because the problem with saying like all anything or every anything is that once one person proves it wrong, it no longer holds merit.
Right.
Like what if you classify or you say like every time or all things and then once it doesn't happen, then that statement's no longer true. So I feel like saying that all of them are bad or that you don't need them or anything, and then that one time that you do, or like the one cop that serves the community or does help, that the statement just doesn't hold the power that people think that it does.
Well, the all cops are bad statement is blatantly untrue. I'm pretty sure it was
Yeah,
a Minnesota sheriff. There's a video of him taking off his riot gear and asking how he can help the protesters. He's not a bad cop, clearly. There was a video of him, and obviously we don't know his every action that he's taken while in a police uniform, but like saying that all cops are bad means they have to be bad all the time, and it's just like you hinted at earlier. There's two options on both sides, good and bad. There are great cops doing everything that they can right now, and National Guard members, but there's also bad ones, and I that's why it's just not okay to generalize.
yeah. I feel like the problem that people have, I've seen a lot of photos and videos of like the cops and National Guard and military now, even in just like rows, like blocking streets and all that.
Hmm.
And it just makes me think of like, I don't feel like people understand almost how the protest has to work. Because first off, I'm pretty sure for it to like be legal, you have to have it has to be registered protest. I think there's laws against just going out. So, and I know most of the big ones are definitely organized,
Right.
but the main reason for enforcement to be there is to make sure that it doesn't grow out of control into a riot.
Hmm.
Um, they're most parts they're standing in front of like governmental buildings that are at risks. Because the problem is that just destroying property isn't getting a message across. Um, if you just are going and looting and burning stuff down and just destroying buildings, that's not helping the cause. As I said earlier, it's taking away from the problem at hand and just starting a new problem.
Right.
I
Um,
feel people up to that.
I think a lot of people are using this to push different agendas as well. If you go on Twitter, you can see people saying that you shouldn't loot like small businesses and stuff. You should loot the bigger corporations. I That doesn't have much to do with the Black Lives Matter protest, from what I've seen. Um, I think that's more an anti-establishment thing. But I I have a hard time believing that people that are robbing liquor stores and the Apple store are. I'm sure that they might agree with the protest a little bit, but that's just not a logical thing to do. There's no connection
Uh,
there.
I think they're just people are if you're just looting because they're just looting because of the environment. It almost seems like they can.
Yeah, it's if the rest of their group is rioting, it becomes okay, I guess.
Yeah, which I do not agree with. I think that, and like we said, the peaceful protests are that is the way to go.
Yeah, 100%. Those are great. That's the First Amendment right. That's why it's the first in the Bill of Rights.
Yeah. Do you want to talk more about the people taking to social media?
Yeah, so if you were on, I believe Instagram was the main part, but uh, I'm sure it was on other social medias too.
Yeah.
The blank screens being posted. Obviously, it got a point across, but I was doing a little bit of research, and it turns out that um, the black boxes are kind of diluting the actual organizations trying to help the Black Lives Matter movement. Um, it's just flooding. It's just saturating the hashtags and everything that they use to get exposure. So I think it raises awareness, but I think it's almost counterproductive to what they're trying to accomplish. I'm sure that a lot of people were also kind of peer pressured into posting the box as well, which is unacceptable. Should not be
Yeah.
pressured into posting, obviously. But what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree with you for the most part. I feel like just doing it because everyone else is, and literally just posting a black screen isn't really going to do anything.
Mm-hmm.
I will say two people that I saw that really stood out and I think did it right. I'm
They.
up on screen. I'll send you screenshots. Was director Taika Waititi
Mm-hmm.
and Grant Imahar. You know him from
MythBusters,
MythBusters.
yeah.
Both of them participated in uh, movement, but they didn't just do the screen. Um, I'll see if I can pull one of them up. Taika Waititi, he had links to where you can go to sign petitions,
Mm-hmm.
donate, just help in other ways besides just posting a photo. And Grant Imahar, he had links to different articles, different reading materials, and also petitions and um, ways to donate to help the protesters buy supplies and all that.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like if you're gonna do it, that's the way to go. Is
Definitely.
participate in the movement, but also to be informative and to show the public ways that you can help after you do this. And as the day went on, I saw that more and more people began to do this.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
Add links to like ways, other ways you can help. But I feel for the most part in the beginning, people just did it almost as in like the other like Instagram trends that have been going on in recent months. And then I feel like only a few people actually did it to try to bring about change.
Yeah, that's a terrible thing to do to try and gain popularity or clout based on this movement. We've said it a billion times. Um, Obviously, police brutality is terrible. But what do you think about the celebrities that are bailing the violent protesters out? I know that I
Um,
think Chrissy Teigen did it. I'm sure there were others as well.
what do you mean? As in they were like,
They were paying the bail. Like if somebody got arrested and couldn't afford to pay bail, they were. They were paying for it.
Oh, okay. And you said like the rioters
Yeah,
were
yeah,
arrested.
yeah. The violent protesters.
I would have to see what it depended on. Because I know for the most part, once, and I don't know like which side usually started, but I know like once the police and the protesters clash, um, I mean it's your natural instinct to flight or fight.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I feel like if you were arrested because you were either protecting a family member or someone, like maybe like a pepper spray was being thrown or smoke bombs or something like that that police have been using, and you're arrested for that, I could see it's almost justified. But if they're paying bail for people that have just been taking advantage of the situation to loot stores, I think that's unacceptable and it's um, counterproductive.
Definitely. Ah, I had a thought. What was it? Um, Crap. Oh yeah. Do you think that for the most part the response has been proportional? The response from law enforcement has been proportional to the uh, the first action by the protesters?
Um, I don't really know. I haven't seen too much. I've been, for the most part, I've been just, I haven't seen too much. I would say that I feel like the media is having almost one-sided opinion stories on it. Like um, they're either entirely on the side of the police or they're entirely on the side of the protests. I've yet to see um,
A
a news
balanced.
source or that's balanced and is showing like both sides. I feel like um, in the epicenter where all the actions taking place. Um, I think just everyone's on nerves, so the peaceful protests have been harder to do.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like in more localized places, especially like around here, I know that they had protests downtown Annapolis yesterday. Um, I think that the police have been doing well in our area. I can't speak the same for more localized areas like in New York or in Minneapolis.
Right. Um, yeah, it's interesting to see how quickly this spread. But there have been videos of peaceful protesters, I guess, restraining people who are trying to become violent, which is again a great thing. That's how you should protest this, in my opinion. So that's good to see.
Yeah, I feel like yeah, I've seen those things too with the people helping out. I just think that that as we were saying, it's just the peaceful ways are going to be the way to go to bring about change. Um, I don't see what burning down a business, which is already struggling because of the coronavirus
Right.
climate, is going to do to help your cause. Anything it's going to make people
It's gonna
say,
make you look
why should we
unintelligent.
listen, why should we listen to these people if they're just going to be burning stuff down?
Exactly. Well, you hinted at the coronavirus. Do you think that people have started to kind of forget about it, loosen up? Obviously, the protests are pretty packed, and you're not seeing very many people with proper protection. And you hinted at the businesses opening as well. Do you think the panic is coming to an end?
I mean, when I was down in Florida, no one was wearing a mask.
Florida's
Um,
crazy, man.
and yeah, businesses were open. It was almost as if coronavirus wasn't a thing down there. We went out on we just went to the boat for the day, just to like go around the waters. And one of the ladies was there. A lady there said that they were wearing masks, but like once the temperature got up to 80, they just
Take them off.
said screw it.
Yeah.
I feel that I I I, I don't think it's over. Um,
Do you think people are
until
just getting used to quarantine life and it's becoming less of a problem, or do you think the problem is actually going away?
I think both. People are definitely getting used to it. I mean, we've been in quarantine since March 13th. It's
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's school was supposed to be
almost been
over
three
for
months.
us. I believe on the 14th. So that's in 11 days. We're recording this on June 3rd. So a lot of time has passed.
Yeah, I think people are definitely getting uh, used to it for sure. And I feel like the other way, I mean, it has been going down. I think that we're over the top of the max point.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but like I said last episode, I don't think it's time to open up because I think we have to be sure because this all started with like a few people in Seattle that had it, and then within a matter of months, um, it was everywhere. So I feel like as long we can't go back to normal until we're positively sure that another wave of it won't happen.
Yeah, that makes sense. Do you prefer online school? Like, if people could still come over to our houses and hang out, and our sports weren't here and all of that, would you, if you had the choice, basically, would you rather go to an actual school building or would you rather do it online at your own pace?
I prefer the in school learning for two reasons. One, I think that if we were to do full online, it would have to have serious changes. I know we've talked about our disappointment towards schooling systems with online schooling in previous episodes.
Hmm.
And for another reason, I just enjoy the social in person learning aspect. Um,
Yeah, it's kind of hard to recreate that the classroom vibe, I guess, where you're all like even the dumb stuff, like messing around in the back of the class. The joy you
yeah,
get when you walk in and you see a substitute. It's kind of hard to recreate online.
yeah. Also, yeah, I feel like I completely agree with you on that. The classroom dynamic and environment just can't be replicated online, even with like video calls and all that.
Hmm. I've talked to a couple of my friends in other counties in Maryland. We're based in Anne Arundel County. I'm sure we said that before, but apparently the other counties they're not doing anywhere near as good of a job as Anne Arundel, which is kind of nerve wracking because, in my opinion, Anne Arundel County hasn't taken care of this very well.
Yeah. It's even worse saying that. I believe we're in phase two right now. I think
Yeah,
it started the
Governor
first day
Hogan
of June,
just moved us into phase two.
which means I know restaurants are now allowed to do outside seating at half capacity. Some other stores are allowed to open up now.
Yeah, we'll throw
But I think
the
it was,
phase two graphic up now.
yeah, I think I still remember saying it's like phase three was something like the January of next
Yeah, I
year.
think it was slated for January 2021.
Yeah. And I personally hope schools are back in session in fall. But then again, I think I haven't had one correct prediction about this thing. Um, I hope they're back in fall. 'Cause I don't think that the online learning will survive. I think kids' grades aren't gonna because I'm sure we talked about it in previous episodes, but in all honesty, when you're looking at it from a grade perspective, this fourth quarter hasn't really mattered that much.
Well, the
Um,
assignments are idiot proof too. The minimum for our county, at least Anne Arundel County, is that as long as you made a good faith effort, you get a 50%. Now that's moved up to a 60%. I think that the 50% was too high, but the 60%, it's unnecessary. The work is
yeah, and
already not that challenging.
yeah, and also how it stands is that even if you do all the work, all it does is boost your third marking period grade by one letter. And if you don't do any of it, you
Nothing
just keep
happens.
your third marking grade.
Exactly.
Just nothing happens.
There's no incentive for people who are happy with their third quarter grades to do any work this marking period.
Which I think that if school's out in the fall as well, they're definitely going to have to change. Um,
The
but
problem is
only
that
time will tell.
Go ahead.
I finished.
Oh, the problem with public school is that you can't account for everybody. Um, I know that in private schools it's a lot easier to make online learning mandatory because if you have enough money to go to a private school, chances are you have technology, and even if you're there on scholarship or whatever, it's not that hard for a privately funded school to give those away or to rent them out or whatever. Um,
I think that was the main reason for Arundel County's rule to have grading. I believe they call it was like satisfactory or
yeah, it's even
unsatisfactory.
um,
Uh, they did it to aid kids that don't have internet access, so that their grades aren't harmed if they're not able to complete the work for this quarter.
I think that this is the best argument for modernizing school systems that has ever been made. Have you heard the? I can't remember who did it for some reason, but it's a speech about how we need to update our school. It's like this is a car 100 years ago and this is a car now, and then it shows the classroom and it's basically the same. The
No, I haven't seen that. But in my opinion, I think that our school should be knocked down and rebuilt.
it's just it's not a great place to learn. I'm learning much better here at home where I don't have to sorry mom sneak my AirPods so I can listen to music. But to be fair, I am lucky in the fact that I have a solid internet connection, a good computer. Um, obviously we're tremendously lucky for that. But
Yeah. I think that this was definitely out of updated. I remember last year at Central, we would always joke that the school had less windows than a prison.
oh yeah,
Um,
definitely.
it did. And I
Yeah,
don't think that the high school is much better.
at least they let us
And
outside.
even, but even like compared to um, Annapolis Annapolis High School's campus, South River is still lacking behind that.
To be
For
fair,
them,
I'd
they have,
much rather go to South River than Annapolis. No offense to
yeah,
Annapolis kids.
but just the campus is more modern. It's not much better, um, but it is more. Uh,
Well,
what I wish
they
South
have
River
like
had.
half a dozen nice turf fields, um, and the Olympic swim center is right next to there too.
Yeah, what I wish South River did. This is just personal preference, but the way I like schools are when what's the word for it? It's like they're sectional, so that's
Oh,
not the
they're
right word.
organized like a college campus.
Yeah, like how it's not just one building. I like
Mm-hmm.
it when it's spread out and there's like outside walkways to go between different halls.
Even just the
That's
couple
the
of
way I
minutes,
would do it.
even just the couple of minutes that you would spend outside in between classes would make a huge difference. At our school, we have 5 minutes in between each class to go from class to class, and if we could spend that walking outside, that would be. I bet you everybody's mood would improve tremendously, and energy levels would as well.
Yeah, that's how I would design it. I would completely knock the school down, and have the gym be a building, have like a science hall, have um, like a cafeteria section. I know that's how the most of the private schools in this area are set
Mm-hmm.
up. Um,
Official East Side
as
Sauce
you said,
private school coming soon.
like that's how most college campuses are set up. And I just think that that's a more uh, especially since high school is supposed to be preparing you for college,
Right.
might as well ease to the layout.
Yeah, unfortunately, those are expensive. Um, I it's tricky because school should be something that we invest a lot in. Obviously, we're biased, but it's training the next generation. I don't think that's a stretch to say at all. Um, but I don't know what we could cut funding from in order to do that. It's almost like private schools. They're they're miles ahead of public schools, and the public schools are just slowly clawing to catch up.
Yeah. I don't know too much, but um, as you were saying, especially in like the current climate, there's not really money to be spent um, towards education.
Mm-hmm. It's I don't know. It some people say that uh, school before college, middle, elementary, that's just completely out of order. Elementary, middle school, and high school is it's teaching you how to learn, but it's making everybody think the same way. And you see it. We've said it a billion times. The outliers are either they tend to do great things, and it's just unfortunate that the culture is to make everybody the same and not focus on the differences.
Yeah, I completely agree with that.
I think that's it for Corona update. We got a little off topic, but that's always okay. So you ready to move into time capsule?
Well, yeah, this will be my favorite round.
Yeah, I'm
I will
sure.
fight hard to make sure that my picks get through.
We've we've agreed on too much stuff so far, man.
Oh, no, dude, the fangs are coming out for this one. If
All
you
right, all
disagree
right.
with my 80s stuff, it's gonna get ugly.
I'll mess you up in the '80s debate. First up, we got 2015 versus 1984. Uh, so I'm sure Jack's about to go in. From 1984, we have Dancing in the Dark, Footloose, Jump, When Doves Cry, and What's Love Got to Do with It. And then we have Ghostbuster, Terminator, Gremlins, Karate Kid, and A Nightmare on Elm Street. And from 2015, we have Uptown Funk, Thinking Out Loud, See You Again, Trap Queen, and Sugar. And then for movies, we have Mad Max Fury Road, Inside Out, Star Wars The Force Awakens, The Martian, and The Revenant. The Martian came out 5 years ago?
Yeah.
Dude. I thought this was gonna be pretty cut and dry for me, but The Martian and The Revenant are kinda making it a little tricky.
Dude, 84, 1984 wins it. Get it, bro. You got
I gotta look at the music, alright? Calm down.
Dancing in the Dark, amazing, bro. Bruce Springsteen, love his stuff.
I completely
Amazing.
glossed over the fact that Jump by Van Halen was on there. Yeah, this one's pretty clear. There's
And
no
then look at the movies, bro. You got Ghostbusters, Terminator, Gremlins, which is the second best Christmas movie to watch.
Jack is
Karate Kid,
aggressively highlighting all of these movies right now, guys.
then Nightmare on Elm Street. Come on.
Yeah, yeah. Dude, how did I forget about Jump, dude? Okay, so no debate there. 1984. Moving on um, to
Okay.
the semifinals. Next up, we got
Yeah.
1985 versus 1983. I'm sure Jack will have a real strong opinion about this
So I
one.
want to read these ones out.
Okay.
Okay. For 83 music, we have Every Breath You Take, Billie Jean, Flashdance, Down Under, Beat It. And for movies, we have Scarface, Star Wars, Return of the Jedi, Vacation, and A Christmas Story.
We have the best
And
Star
for
Wars in this year, boys.
no. And for 1985, we have Take on Me, Like a Virgin, Wake Me Up Before You Go Go, I Want to Know What Love Is, Everybody Wants to Rule the World. And for movies, we have Back to the Future, The Breakfast Club, The Goonies, Blood Simple, and The Falcon and the Snowman.
This one is kind of tough, actually, because Back
This
to the
one's tough.
Future is amazing,
Watched
obviously.
all three of them 2 weekends ago because they came out on Netflix.
They're on Netflix now?
Yeah.
Oh, I usually watch them on YouTube TV, but I still got to sit through the ads. That's annoying. What's your favorite Back to the Future?
I mean, the first is the classic, but I feel like almost the second one is more like brought up because the whole like To the Future 2015 scene takes back that one. I actually think I like the second one more because it's got that future element, even though the CG is kind of weird, didn't hold up too well. But the second one's almost the first one with more because they go back to the first movie.
Right.
So you like if you love the first movie, you'll like the second one because it has the same scenes, but then it just has more.
I honestly
I
think
like
that
the second one.
they could have handled the second one a lot better, in my opinion. They didn't really lean into the utopia side of the future, more to the dystopia, which I
Yeah,
don't think I'm really a fan of.
there were. It was hard because they shot 2 and 3 back to back.
I honestly
It was
think
like
that 3 wasn't terrible either. A lot of people don't like that.
yeah, same thing. I didn't hate it at all. I wasn't too much of a fan of the Western theme of it. But I don't know really like where else they would have gone with it
Right.
because they had already gone to the 80s and the 50s.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, I just didn't know. I didn't like the climate as much in that one.
Yeah, I got you.
I didn't think it was too bad.
So, what are you leaning towards for the music? Because there's
Uh, Music on this one, I'm pretty decisive with 85.
you like 85 more.
Take on Me, Everybody Wants to Rule the World, and Wake Me Up Before You Go Go. Great songs.
I think that just the two Michael Jackson songs can beat those songs though. Beat It and Billie Jean. I I don't know. We'll put that one as a tie for now, and we can
Uh,
rediscuss. Is
I think
movies clearer for you,
movie's just way clearer on 85 for me. Breakfast Club is
bro?
my favorite 80s movie. And then Goonies is awesome. Uh, I had a friend in elementary school. We'd all call him Chuck.
Dude, this one's
How are you bent or split with this one?
Scarface and Return of the Jedi and A Christmas Story. That's it. That's this. And Michael Jackson. How are you gonna beat Michael Jackson, man? And then Scarface. That's probably the
I'm
most
gonna
quoted movie of all time. And then Return of the Jedi is clearly the best Star Wars movie.
I'm gonna beat it with the Goonies, Breakfast Club, Back to the Future.
God,
That's not
dude,
gonna beat it.
Return of the Jedi versus Back to the Future is like picking between children. Uh,
Yeah, and you're gonna go with Back to the Future.
what movie would I rather watch? Back to the Future, Return of the Jedi. But Scarface too. I challenge you to go for the next five 5 months without saying "say hello to my little friend" whenever you like pick up a large object.
Good. How about this? How about this? What was that one year? It was like 2 episodes back that you said you loved, and then I said, "Well, you better be watch out because I like the other one."
It might have
Um,
been 84. Or no,
no,
might have
no,
been.
it was which one was it? The one with Pulp Fiction in it? What year was that? Was that
I can look for it real quick.
90?
That was 94.
94 goes up against um 94. 94
90.
goes against 82. I in that matchup lean towards 82.
See, you
So how
make me
about
want
this?
to hurt
How about this?
myself, but no,
How about this?
that's a joke.
You give me 85 in this one, and I'll give you 92 for the next one.
We're bartering. I
Yes.
I think that you. Now that I think about it, Back to the Future is a better movie than Return of the Jedi.
Oh my god,
I'll
because it's not
begrudgingly give you
the
1985.
best Star Wars.
Okay, I'm done with your crap, dude. What happens in Empire Strikes Back? Nothing.
The bad guy wins.
Empire Strikes Back is just a setup for Return of the Jedi.
But the bad guy wins.
Yeah,
Imagine seeing that movie when it first comes out. And the bad guy wins. That wasn't heard of, bro.
yeah, but okay, I'm sure somebody had done it before. And Darth Vader takes the helmet off in Return of the Jedi, bro. And then there's the whole father-son thing, and Palpatine dies. That's just,
The only
you
the
know,
only good thing in that movie is the Ewoks.
only good thing in the movie is the Ewoks. Uh,
The beginning part in
the only good thing that happens in Empire Strikes Back is Yoda dies. I'm done. All right, whatever.
Yoda dies in the sixth.
He does? I thought it was. That's how unmemorable the fifth one was, dude. It was just not. No.
Dude, the fifth one has the Hoth scene. It has when you first meet Yoda. It has the lifting of the X-wing out of the swamp. It has the first duel with Luke and Vader. It has the "I am your father" scene, and it has Luke getting his arm cut off, and it has Han being frozen.
They needed to chill with the hand being cut off thing. They kind of played that out. Yeah, we can dedicate a whole episode to this, dude, and I will school you on Star Wars. I don't even care anymore.
Do it in the 10th.
All right, bet. I'll take you out, dude. I'll take you out.
Okay.
All right. So next up, we got 1994 versus
Wait,
1980.
hold on. 85 1?
Sure, we'll have 85 move on. It's a very begrudging 85. It's only because of the Back to the Future and what else was there? The Goonies. Okay, so next up we have 1994 versus 1982. We have Physical, Eye of the Tiger, I Love Rock and Roll, Ebony and Ivory, Centerfold. And for movies, we have Blade Runner, E.T., The Thing, Poltergeist, and Fast Times at Ridgemont High. And then for the 1994, we have The Sign, I Swear, I'll Make Love to You, The Power of the Dream, and Hero. And we have probably the best movies lineup in the entire bracket: Pulp Fiction, Forrest Gump, Shawshank Redemption, Lion King, and Speed. So you hinted at the fact that you'd rather pick the 80s over 94. Why?
Um, think here, hold on. Okay. Uh, I think the music beats.
I'll give you the music.
Um, keep getting my this mix up. I think the music beats it for sure. Um, the movies are more decisive on. The movies I definitely think goes to 92.
94.
I mean 94. Um,
I
I mean
just,
I know that. Why does it keep doing this? Um,
how are you supposed to pick over Pulp Fiction, Forrest Gump, and Shawshank Redemption? I don't think that there's a way you can.
I will give you that for
Those are
sure.
such iconic movies. Pulp Fiction, the timeline was all out of order, which was crazy. Um, hurt my brain a little bit when I first watched it. Forrest Gump, obviously amazing. Again, try and go 5 months without saying "run, Forrest, run" whenever somebody is running. Shawshank Redemption is just there's something about it that's just so crazy to see. There's funny moments, there's sad moments, there's it, and the
Yeah.
Lion King, obviously, dude.
Okay.
This makes me angry. Would you rather listen to a good song or watch a good movie?
It depends how good the song is.
No, like they're equally good. Like they're both 7 out of 10. Even if they're both 10 out of 10.
Ooh. I probably watched the movie.
Exactly. Which means movies are more
All right, yeah,
important.
yeah.
Which means 94 moves on. Exactly.
Okay.
That's what I
Okay.
thought. That's what I thought. Shawshank Redemption, best movie of all time.
Can't wait till if they're both gonna make it to the next round. It's gonna be my finals 85 versus
Oh my god,
94.
dude. we
Gonna
might
have
push
to have
we
some
might
more
push
fun.
2 hours on that episode.
No, if that happens, I'm gonna make a full PowerPoint presentation to show why 85 is better.
I'll make an expertly edited video, just like the rest of the East Side Sauce podcast. Okay, next matchup. Kind of pales into comparison to 1994, actually. But 1968 versus 1980, I think this one's going to be pretty clear cut. 1968, we had Hey Jude, Love is Blue, Honey, The Dock of the Bay, People Gotta Be Free. And then 2001 A Space Odyssey, Once Upon a Time in the West, Rosemary's Babies, The Producers, and The Lion in Winter. And
For
then
80, oh, this is me. 80, we have Call Me, Another Brick in the Wall, Magic, Rock with You, Another One Bites the Dust, The Shining, Empire Strikes Back, the best Star Wars movie,
Onward
Raging
Captain.
Bull, and Airplane.
This one's just too easy. Um, we've got Another Brick in the Wall, Pink Floyd, great song. More Michael Jackson, Another One Bites the Dust. The Shining, great movie. Again, here's Johnny. The second best Star Wars, which is, mediocre at best. Um, there's not really much in the 60s, to be honest with you. I
The
think,
only ones that are really fighting for that one are the Beatles songs and then 2001.
yeah, I think we are forced to have 1980 move on.
Yep.
So our next matchup is our first semifinal matchup.
Yep.
Um, so we've
What,
got 2000,
12?
2019. So from 2012, we have, one moment, Somebody That I Used to Know, Call Me Maybe, We Are Young, Payphone, and Lights. And for some reason, we have 6 movies. Dark Knight Rises, Avengers, Skyfall, Zero Dark 30, Life of Pi, and The Hobbit. And for 2019, we have Old Town Road, Bad Guy, Call Natura, Sucker, and Circles. And then Parasite, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, Endgame, Knives Out, and Joker.
I'll say this. I don't know what it was. I feel like 2019 had some of the best film in recent time. I don't know if that was just because last year I got like really into cinema and like watching. I tried to watch like all the Academy nominated movies. I don't know if it was just that, but I feel like last year had some really really good movies.
I think that last year's like impact culturally was just it's almost unbeatable, I guess, just based on how much those movies meant. Like Once Upon a Time in Hollywood and Joker caused so much controversy just because of how the Joker was an amazing movie. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, I liked. Obviously, some people didn't, but those are great movies, but they caused a lot of problems. Knives Out, I watched, great movie. Endgame, the buildup was insane.
Just the impact that it had.
I
Um,
don't really
I
care
mean,
for the music of 2019, but then again, I don't really care for the music of 2012 either.
yeah, and then so many other movies that just come to mind from last year. Uh, we've talked about some of those other ones. I think last episode. Um,
I think we kind of
just
gotta.
like last year's cinema was just so great, especially like comparing it as good. Um, and then I don't remember too many of them from 2017, but yeah, just dude, last year's impact that film had was just amazing.
All of those
And I feel
movies, except for, I mean, I guess Parasite and Knives Out weren't extremely powerful, but Knives Out was a good movie. Those they just had such an impact that went kind of
like,
beyond just the movie itself. So I think we got to give it to
it
2019.
was- I feel like it's almost going to be 19 was so great because nothing good's going to come out this year.
Dude, we're already like halfway through 2020. That's kind of
Yeah,
scary.
we're halfway through, and I don't think just thinking like even before this, real big movies were scheduled. Like the MCU is basically starting over this year, and based on like what their lineups were, none of them really stood out.
Top Gun
The
Maverick was slated to come out this year.
that was I mean the next MCU movie that I even like was really gonna be looking forward to was Guardians, which got pushed back to I think 2021.
Mm-hmm.
Um, only other big movie that I've heard come out was Tenet, which is Christopher Nolan, which will definitely be worth watching. Uh, I love his stuff.
I forgot that Christopher
Dark
Nolan
Knight.
also directed, um, crap, Interstellar, which I said was one of my favorite movies. I watched it again last night. Still great.
I mean, I've been watching a lot of his movies recently. Dunkirk is one of my favorite war movies. Inception is great. As I've said countless times again, the Dark Knight trilogy is probably the best superhero uh, trilogy or like collection that is out there. Um, yeah, I completely agree with 2019 on this one.
So you, well, okay, so 2019. Moving on, we already said that, but you'd pick Christopher Nolan's Dark Knight over Iron Man, the Iron Man trilogy.
Yeah, I would.
All right, man. To each his own. With this
I
one,
think that I just think it's amazing. From I don't think there's any other superhero movie like those three Batman movies out there. I mean, even if not that, the second one's the best superhero movie ever made. I
hey,
don't think there's argument.
hold up. Don't get ahead of yourself.
Who competes with it?
What?
What do you think competes with it?
A couple of them come to mind, like Iron Man 1, 2, and 3. Maybe not 2, but you know. Dude, the scene at
Um,
the end in Iron Man 3 where all the specialized suits come out, dude, you can't beat that. There's no way.
yeah, I can.
Oh, shit.
Barge scene
All
from
right. All right.
Night.
All right. It's
Actually,
okay.
I will
It's
say one
okay.
thing.
Look, see,
Um,
this is very progressive because we're allowing some people to be wrong.
Thank you.
Okay.
Actually, wait. Before we move on to the next one,
That's the last matchup.
well, as one last little tangent that you brought up the Iron Man trilogy, there was a debate on Twitter a few weeks ago. People calling out the third one, saying that it was the worst MCU movie ever. What do you think of that?
I think that those people should move to Canada because that might be the least American thing that I've heard in a very long time. Iron Man 3 is clearly not the weak link in that trilogy um,
I think
because
the second one.
Iron Man 2 is a weak. Iron Man 2 is the weak link, but it's not. I think that movie's dope.
Hold on,
But
wait, time out. Who's the one with the Soviet guy, right? Or like the
yeah,
Ukraine dude?
hmm
Is that
that I mean, it wasn't great. Obviously, it wasn't as good as the first one or the third one, but I mean, it was still a good movie. Because that was the one where he discovered the new element, and there was the courtroom scene and all of that, and those scenes are probably some of my favorite. I don't know which is your pick for best Iron Man movie though.
I mean, I think right answer is saying the first one.
I think that Iron Man 1 best superhero movie of all time. But like I said, it's okay to be wrong.
No. Dark Knight's the best superhero movie ever made.
That'd be cool if Iron Man 1 didn't exist because in Iron Man 1 you have
Just gotta see him like back to back.
the crafting the crafting of the first Iron Man suit is it's such a good scene, dude. How are you going to beat that? And I swear to God, if you say with the Dark Knight Rises, I'm going to drive to your house and smack you.
With the Dark Knight Rises, you're gonna beat it.
That looks like we're leaving, boys. Again, we
Movie's
will.
not even about. I mean, it's the Joker's movie.
Yeah,
It
exactly.
by the best Joker.
Okay, but I'm next episode or episode 10, season finale. We're gonna get into it about.
It's not gonna be a episode 11 because only one of us is coming out.
Yeah, that might be true. We might have to get a new host. We'll take care of the Empire Strikes Back versus Return of the Jedi, and now I guess the Iron Man versus Dark Knight Rises trilogy.
Dark Knight.
I'm aware that you like being wrong, Jack. I think that about covers it for this episode. Anything else you want to discuss?
No, I think we covered pretty much all of it.
All right. Thank you very much for watching again. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram. We post updates about the show, and also just stuff sometimes. And we'll start putting polls on there so we can prove Jack wrong that Empire Strikes Back and Dark Knight are just mid-tier. So definitely follow us there. Subscribe to the podcast for episode 9, and we are coming very close to the season finale, episode 10, with. I can't say it. I can't say it. We got a surprise. Yeah. I might not talk to Jack after that. But yeah, definitely stick around for that. As always, stay home, stay safe, be good people, and we'll see you in episode 9.